The farmers have been protesting for quite some time now, and it has only intensified in the past few weeks. The government had managed to ward off the protest, at least momentarily, as they announced a hike in the MSP for the summer season crops. But the issues plaguing the farm sector and the farmers run deep. To discuss these and a lot more, today we have Mr. Dibyendu Maiti. He is a professor of economics at the Delhi School of Economics. Welcome to the show, sir. Welcome to the Federal.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So to begin with, Professor Maiti, let's begin with this simple question that although the government has announced a hike in MSP, almost ranging from 5 to 10%, the farmers are claiming that this hike is very meager and it does not help them to solve the issue. So can you shed some light on this?
First of all, the problem that they have been facing is much bigger than the issue raised related to the MSP, because there are 3 laws that are prescribed to be implemented, and that has already been passed. The way that has been passed, I would say, undemocratically. And then there are some events happened in the last 1 year when the promise was given. They are not being their proposal and the discussion between them were not done properly. So somehow, somewhere or other, they lost a bit of trust on the discussion or the proposal to be considered by the government seriously. So this trust, this is one. Second thing is that there are a number of uncertainty that they are actually speculating. That uncertainty has to be also addressed. Of course, the point you said, the 5% increase, of course, is not sufficient enough because in agriculture, latest figures tells you that 50% farmers are still indebted, and many farms are running out of the negative profit, and at the same time, the market, because of course they are not getting access proper price in the market, the profits are not really sufficient enough to sustain their agricultural activity. That's the reason there is a general trend going on that people are moving out of rural area and prefer to live in the urban
area. Right. So what you're saying, Professor, is that it is not only enough to declare a mere 5 to 10% increase, but there are larger issues that needs to be addressed, right?
Yes.
Okay. So just to take off from there, Professor, my second question would be that merely by announcing a hike in MSP, do you think the government also needs to set up a mechanism, a market mechanism, which is more dependable and assured for the procurement of crops, in terms of various crops, so that the market mechanism allows the farmers and the government to actually take the benefit of that increase? That mechanism seems to be missing. So what do you say about it?
Absolutely. Of course, APMC offers some mechanisms, and where, let's say, the major issue is in the agriculture that whenever harvest takes up, farmers want to dispose it quickly because they cannot procure, because we don't have much storage capacity. Now, quite often, they take loan, they run their business, the agricultural activities, they should definitely dispose it as quickly so that they could repay their loan. And at that time, since they know that the supply is much, that they may not actually get the good prices. So the market mechanism is a key to address these issues. And then the APMC actually gives some hope to them. If they are unable to sell somewhere else, at least they will be able to dispose at some prices to APMC. But of course, APMC is not sufficient enough to address the marketing problem that they have been facing right now, because there are intermediaries, few traders are controlling. So on top of that, of course, there are other marketing mechanism has to be developed. Let's say they are talking about the corporate farming. Instead of asking them to negotiate individually, why can't we also set up some kind of institution and where the corporate firm come together and then the cooperative or something like that can actually negotiate and do some kind of negotiation with on behalf of the farmers to get the better price. Because see, in the corporate firm, the proposed, one of the law, have been definitely telling that, if they then negotiate with the corporate sector, they might actually get better price. But we know that the farmers are less educated. They have less information. They don't have much information about the outside world. And then without having much information, how can they also negotiate the getting better prices? So that's the reason some kind of marketing mechanisms to dispose of, although even the law, sorry, I'm probably taking.
No problem. Yeah, no problem. Continue.
So it was said that the farmers can sell anywhere within the state or outside state. That's fine. So they can get access to the market. But are they in a position to exercise that when the harvest takes place? They are ready to dispose as early as possible. They won't be in a position to dispose or explore those mechanisms. It's not like the product produced in manufacturing sectors. The inventory may not actually stay for long. So that's the reason marketing mechanism key to address these problems.
Okay, right. Just to move on, government has laid a lot of emphasis on the issue of crop diversification. So in one hand, they talk about crop diversification, moving from traditional harvests like, wheat, paddy, pulses, cotton to more climate resilient crops. But on the other hand, there is a lack of supporting mechanism to allow that shift, to allow that transformation. So how do you think this crop diversification can actually materialize, on the ground?
See, although the way the crop diversification is supposed to be happening, maybe this is not happening at the speed, but since there has been substantial crop diversification happening in the country a lot, particularly in the belt where the farmer producers are quite vigilant, the crop diversification has done progress substantially in those states. Even I would say there are states like Bengal, the crop diversification is going fast. But the problem again now, specifically in the last, I would say 1.5 decades, when the environment became, climate change is actually going fast and the productivity is being affected. And it has already been said by the scientists that 1% increase in the temperature, the DPP law, agricultural laws would be 1.5.
Right. The overall productivity, right? Yes.
Overall productivity will actually be low. And the workers won't be in a position to go and work under the heat. So in that case, of course, the one single farmer is not responsible for getting that much heat.
Right.
This is the social problem. And some form of, I would say, subsidy in the form of giving training, giving infrastructure facility to access water, or even, let's say, when we are giving marketing facility, that agency could also provide some kind of inputs. See, the way all the states are thinking the problem that consumers, when they are facing some problem, can be given subsidy. Instead of doing that, why can't you give them input subsidies directly, so that can be used and empower them to get the better productivity, better output that may help them to diversify their product.
That's right. So since climate change is an issue which in all policy apparatus or policy formulation now, the climate change is featuring as one of the topmost priority of the government. So looking at climate change and how it will affect the overall agriculture, don't you think so we should devise a method which actually allows for this diversification process to happen more smoothly?
See, Of course, industry is more responsible for that. You know, the industrial pollutions is raising the temperatures globally. And then, of course, most of the countries has agreed to reduce the carbon emissions to a lot. And India has also committed to reduce at least 40% emission by 2030 and by 2070 by zero carbon emissions. But of course, as you said, that has to be practiced. A clear policy that is supposed to be implemented to reduce the carbon emission should be disclosed. I mean, we are not really witnessing that kind of implementation is taking place.
Right.
But of course, some kind of changes is definitely here. Let's say we can move towards organic farming. That would be definitely one way to go ahead.
So,
And then we should also ask engineer. I mean, there should be some kind of collaboration with the farmers and the engineer or the scientists that under these kind of climate, which crops
it's more suitable, right?
more suitable.
Right. Yeah.
And then probably also that there are some kind of experiment happening, or their proposal was also given. Government is actually not giving permission to implement in the agriculture. So that's why diversification is actually not going fast.
Right. Now, when ministers talk about, they talk very proudly about, this year they have raised the, MSP to a record high, and the MSP is much more than the previous year. But aren't they aware of the simple fact that it's not only, announcement of MSP, but the real issue, the issue at the heart of the problem is the implementation of the MSP. So how are they addressing this issue? Aren't they aware of this issues that there are a number of bottlenecks that are, in the implementation process?
So, of course, I would say that they are definitely aware of this fact, but they are also compelled by other fact, to be honest. See, after financial crisis, if you look at the world economy under actually recessions. Entire European economy, Europe or Western economy is actually growing at 2.5%, in the last 1 decade. And India is also to some extent crisis. We thought that we might be going faster than the growth, but we are not. So now the corporate sectors, the way they're supposed to be flourishing, are not actually flourishing. Let's say we look at the example of the Adani. So now of course the governments are, somehow having tied with them, and they need some space to run their business, and that's the reason why they are very much keen to open up the corporate sectors in the agriculture. So whatever you produce in the agriculture sector, consumer has to consume to survive themselves. So this is the one sector, whatever you produce, the corporate sectors will actually survive out of that. So,
Right.
so they are actually compelled for that, and
Right.
they give some opening for them.
Okay, so when you say they're compelled by it, so if I was to understand, one of the main points that are raised by the farmers and the farm unions are that this 1.5% increase over the production price is not helping us. It's their claim is that this price rise is not helping us because there's something of the remunerative price. The remunerative price is missing, so it is not helping us at all. So how do we address this? In one hand, we are increasing the price, but if it's not helping the farmers whom it's meant to be, it's supposed to be for them, so how do we address this anomaly?
No, I mean, see, there is no easy way to handle this, but they are right in one sense. If you also look at the inflation that has taken, let's say, last 1 or 2 years. So, of course, inflation were last year around 7, 8, and 8%. Now, if you look at also the inflation of the core food item, on an average is around 4%. Now, let's say if 4% inflation is the for the food items, so that means so the gap is extra 4%. So that means the farmers they're also buying the goods from non-food item baskets. So in real term, their income is actually lagging behind. So the 5%, sorry, 4 to 5% loss they are actually incurring during this process. So that's the reason, even if they give 5% something like that they have said, sorry, 2% we said, that may not be sufficient enough to maintain the production viably. So,
yeah. Giving, sorry, yeah.
So now, the central bank has a policy of inflation targeting.
Right.
Why you want to target something? Because you want to give some kind of stability. Why can't you also target the food price totally? Because food price is the core for all individuals in the consumption baskets. And if you can somehow stabilize of the goods the poor people are consuming, that may solve to some extent the problem, I would say, the stabilization of the benefit they may get from the market.
So giving legal status to MSP, which has been a long-standing demand from the farmers, giving legal status to the MSP can truly facilitate crop diversification, and it can also help in increasing the farmers' income. So what is your opinion on it? Because there's a lot of talk about, making the MSP a legal, a legal statutory thing. So, I mean, there are arguments and for and against, but what is your take on this?
Yes, when you are also prescribing the policies uh, uh, for corporatization, procurement ordinance were prescribed, there they have clearly said that there are three level of legal screening. So let's say if there is a conflict disputes arises, there are three layers which can address some problem. So now the similar kind of problem may also appear in the MSP. Why can't also institutionalize similar kind of dispute mechanism to address? I think that should definitely at least give some kind of hope to the farmers. This is one. Second thing is that now we were talking about the digital India. Now it is, it can be easily converted the MSP, the way they say APMCs are working in different mandi, can be converted in digitally. Now the middleman who also appears in handling in mandi, or let's say those who monopolize the entire system of the procurement, to some extent could also be bypassed, and then all those transactions could also be digitalized, and then that, so the entire legal screening would be quite helpful if you also can convert things into the digital system.
So one of the long-standing promises of the current dispensation, the BJP government, has been, to provide MSP on the basis of the Swaminathan Committee recommendation, that is C2 plus 50%. C2 is the comprehensive cost of production plus 50%. But this promise seems, it remains unfulfilled. So why do you think, sir, the recommendations are not being followed to the print?
Of course, there has been also proposal or given by number of, let's say, agricultural economy, that because of this kind of MSP, farmers are heavily protected. Now, and the basic argument is that when you withdraw the protections and allow more entry, increase the competition, that competition will encourage innovation or will force you to diversify product, and that will also force to have some kind of agreement with the corporate agency to get the investment and the productivity. So their motive is to liberalize. That liberalization can actually help productivity rise, and that's
But
why
this,
the
but if you are to understand, if just for the clarification of our viewers, this formula that has been worked out by the Swaminathan committee, C2 plus 50%, that is comprehensive cost of production plus 50%. So this, I mean, if you are to see just from a layman's perspective, I think this is a very comprehensive formula because it includes your all input costs and everything, and 50% is a good amount. So what is preventing the government from implementing this?
again, I told you, I think, a minute ago, that they are compelled to do something else because corporate sectors are their friend and they should keep them entry, and that kind of protection uh, should not be given. Um, and according to them, that the protection is not actually helping them to diversify the product. And how long you can keep you giving the protection? That's the reason why they want to withdraw this kind of systems and implement something alternative at this time.
With inflation, obviously there's this associated factor of rising input costs. So rising input costs and the unfair MSP regime is actually leading to growing indebtedness and also the larger agrarian crisis. It's only aggravating the larger agrarian crisis. So how do we solve this? Is there a long-standing solution to this?
I mean, of course, this is the most crucial issues, I would say. If you look at the Chinese experiences, at least let's say 30 or 40 years back, what they have done, they try to, at least improve the infrastructures and long route march we know, where they also try to create some kind of dam and the river, were being clean so that access to the water would be much more easily be getting by the farmers. So that kind of public infrastructure were provided. So that helps them to reduce the cost of production. Now, see, if you look at also the Indian case, I would say the Meghnad Saha, who prescribed some of those creation for the dams, when he was the ministers in 1954, like Damodar Bhari and that kind of dams was his bench. After that, no one has made any kind of prescribe any kind of improvement, those kind of water access problems and other. Of course, the irrigation facilities has gone up, but then we are actually digging the water from the ground. Why can't you also with some? So this is one example. So let's say if you create a dam, and then that can also give them easy access to the water. Similar kind of infrastructure should be provided much so that the cost of production and the cost of going to the market may actually go down, and that may to some extent help them to.
Okay, so just to sum it up, what you're saying is that a better public infrastructure may be a solution to this, right?
Yeah, and then on top of that, in the beginning, I was selling some kind of marketing cooperative which were being experimented. I think initial plan era might be revamped. That may to some extent, and then with the set of storage facilities. Storage facilities can also procure to some extent.
Right. So it's the combination of three aspects. One is the storage facilities, one is the marketing cooperative, and third is the some level of public infrastructure, right? So just to jump to the recent happenings, which has been in the news, that the entire controversy over this MSP on sunflower crop. So just to take the example of Haryana, the Haryana government, they have what they have stated is that instead of giving MSP on the sunflower crop, they have given an additional compensation under the scheme called the Bhavantar Bharpai Yojana. Now, what the farmers are claiming is that this is actually couched in a very, very wise manner to actually not give them the entire benefit, but only part of the benefits. I mean, just to elucidate, they have given additional costs for say up to 6 to 8 quintals per acre, whereas the normal produce is around 10 to 12 quintals per acre. So, do you think this kind of assessment or this kind of promises it actually adds to the distrust between the government and the farmers, which we are already seeing?
Uh, so I don't know actually the particular problem you said. I may not be able to give the concrete answer to this problem. See, I mean, one thing is that of course government cannot promise everything or cannot subsidize everything. Farmers should actually find way to address the problem definitely, but some kind of promise, as I mentioned, particularly for the agriculture, is very much needed. But I'm not aware of the particular instances you said, so I cannot give you the exact answer to that.
Okay. So, just to sum up for our viewers, what Mr. Mathi has recommended, he has recommended a whole host of measures, starting from a better public infrastructure to a strengthening of the cooperative system, and also including corporates in this the entire agrarian framework in a very constructive way. So thank you, Mr. Dibyendu Maiti, once again for talking to the federal and addressing these critical questions surrounding the farm sector and the farmers' protest. Thank you once again, sir.
Subscribe to the Federal's YouTube page for more news and updates.